Hello everybody, welcome back to the Peace River map, Farming Simulator 19, made by Camille Mapping, and again I hope I'm saying his name correctly. We've been harvesting canola, field number 48, 49, 50, and 26. We have two other fields of canola, 27 and 33, but they're not quite ready yet, but we've completed harvesting these fields over here, and I'm already well underway with tilling them under for the coming fall. Still the middle of summer, but we kind of have a lull, and there's nothing really to harvest at the moment. We can see our fields. These are corn fields. I believe this is wheat we have in through here, and then we have a little more canola down here. So we kind of have a summer lull, and I'm trying to fill it by doing some tillage. I've already taken care of field 48, 50, and 26. I'm getting myself kind of a rock problem out there. But before I go much further, let me set my timer here for my dear friend, Eustace Farmer. Still miss him. Wish he was still here, and I gotta say this isn't quite as fun as it was when he was here mentoring me and helping me do this. Although, you know, they say you can't put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. No matter how much he helped me, this is still marginal. But anyway, I'm turning on his timer. 30 minutes, so I know when to shut up and leave all you good people alone. So that's kind of an overview of where we are in the fields, and we're all set up here with the tractor, ready to go. Have our big bud out here, and I'm so glad to be able to do this. I mean, I just look out there, and the carpet pattern, I wish it wasn't a carpet pattern. It just looks strange. So I'm going to be glad to be tearing that up. As we see in the other fields, we no longer have that silly pattern to deal with. So I've already set up a course play. Let's just take a look at it real quick. I think that's the shape of field 49. And I think we're at the starting point. 2 rounds around. And then it's going to go back and forth until we end up over here. I don't think it's started yet, so it hasn't calculated a time to complete. So let me just set this in the ground, and we'll get it going up here, and I'm going to send him off. Alright, it says an hour and 37 minutes is the approximate time that it'll take to till this up. You know, even with the huge fields in here, it's amazing how quickly, when you have larger machinery, it's amazing how quick they can go over the fields. And maybe some of you looking at that, oh, there was just a rock, I think, that it kicked out. There it is. I don't know if I can get back at it. No, I couldn't do that. But I guess that's how a farm is set up. You typically get equipment that is commensurate with the size of the farm that you have, because that's what's ultimately going to pay for it. And I'll say it again, if there ever was a map designed for the Big Bud, this is one of them. There's a rock. So yeah, I have a rock mod in here, the one that was available for Farming Sim 13. Oh, those pesky birds. Yeah, they're pretty noisy when they pop out of the brush. But for the moment, we're just going to let him go, and I actually was going to take some time with the other fields and go pick up the rocks. I think you can see them. Let me see if I can get my mouse cursor over here on the mini-map. Maybe if I make it bigger, can you still see him? Yeah, you can still see him. So we've already tilled up field 26, 48, and 50, and you can tell they're just littered with rocks. And so this is something I think some people think I have rocks in my head, but something near and dear to my heart. I practically grew up on a rock pile. You know, we just always had tons of rocks at home, and I think my dad, to keep his boys busy, made us haul rocks from point A to point B just to keep us out of trouble. But there was a lot of them for the farms around here. It's kind of a volcanic type soil, and not the best soil either. Oh, there's another one. Sort of a reddish type rock. They're not too hard. They're usually fairly easily broken, but just everywhere. They're a problem still to this day, and it's less of a problem for those farms, that have been diligent in getting their fields clean, but they're still a problem. There's always rocks being pulled out of the ground. It's just now they have bigger and better equipment. A lot of times, rocks in the past you would have picked up and hauled off. Now the machines are big enough, the rollers are heavy enough, they can just pound them things right back into the ground and plant, over the top of them. But they're still there and ever present. So I not only have done a little bit of modding with rocks in game here, but Farm Sim 19 I never did roll over the rock spawn mod. So another modder did. I believe his nickname is Thunder, Thundr. He's a brilliant scripter, has a number of script mods, and for Farm Sim 19, he took on the project of getting tillage equipment to spawn rocks. So it's his work on this particular rock mod that is kicking them out. You can kind of see we're just littering the ground behind us. I know on the version that I did, I made it so you could have varying rates of rocks come out. So you could choose where, if there maybe some fields would be rock free and you didn't have any rocks coming. But in the version he's made, I think it's pretty constant. It doesn't matter where you are, they come out at a fairly consistent rate, and so you just need to deal with them. So, and he did it totally different from the way I did it, which is awesome. That's the thing about modding. There's a lot of times more than one way to do it, and I kind of think he's a professional coder. So odds are he set his mod up way better than I ever did on mine, and actually did it right. So all I know is it works like a charm, and I've enjoyed using it. So maybe what I should do, there actually is, let me go to the purchase menu here for a moment. I think I purchased this for the farm. Somewhere in here, it's probably in the trailers, pull. I wonder if it's in miscellaneous. I'm going to have to go find it. It's a rock picker. There it is. Degelman rock picker. Degelman? I'm not real familiar with this particular rock picker. Maybe I'll just pretend I'm going to purchase it here. How do I there we go. I think what this does is it's pretty simple construction that you would lower this front part. It would kind of come down onto the ground and then would be just enough under the dirt that you would pick up rocks and they would roll right into the body of this. I've never used a Degelman, so I don't know if that's how they work. Maybe someone who's seeing this would be more familiar with it and would know. But apparently there's no mechanical device that would sweep the rocks up there. It looks simple, just a hydraulic lift or lower, and you pick up the rocks and collect them kind of in there. And frankly, I'm not sure how they dump out of there. Maybe the unit then lifts so you can dump those out. I don't remember exactly how that behaves in game. So all of these rocks are 3D objects, so they will be carried in there, or they can be carried in a trailer and can be moved around. Versus, in the new version of Farm Sim 22, where rocks came with the game, it's more of a fill type that goes in here. It isn't a hard 3D object, so in my mind, that kind of took away some of the fun, because you can kind of cultivate over the top of the rocks and make them disappear. Well, in real life, it isn't that simple. So anyway, I've already purchased one of these, and I maybe should go look for it. I'll get off the tractor here. go back to the farm. There's our 3 trucks kind of sitting there waiting for work. And you'll have to get to my tractor. There's our combine sitting there. We've just fueled up the tractor, so I'm gonna go pull this trailer over somewhere. Well, maybe I won't. You know what? It's been a little while since I've ran the deer, so maybe I'll get over to it. It was parked over. There it is. I think, yeah, it's all fueled up too. We'll drop the... Oh, he's got a shield on the front. Well, maybe that'll help. I don't know. We'll drop off the baler here. And the thing about rocks, you know, when you have 3D objects, you need to do something with them or they become physics problems. Every single one of them, with the game rendering them as a roll around on the map or whatever. So here now we're going to pick up our Degelman, and right next to the Degelman in this pile here, what it looks like a rock pile, is actually a place where we can dispose of these rocks. So it's a place we can haul them to, if you will. Although it's quite a ways over here, so probably what I'll end up doing maybe is setting up another placeable. It's just a placeable that was set in here. And you can put a placeable rock pile pretty much anywhere you want. And the distances in this map are pretty large, so I may put a placeable rock pile somewhere else, so I don't have to run nearly as far. But for the moment, I'm going to head out to the field. I'm trying to remember how to make this thing work. I kind of think it's embedded in the mod. I kind of think to get them on here... Yeah, I'm just going to have to experiment a little bit yet. But if I'm not mistaken, this Degelman is treated as a trailer, a type of trailer. So I guess in theory, you could haul even some other type of fill type in it if it's a trailer. I don't know if it's set up for that. But it's treated as a trailer. It's not treated as any other type of implement. So I guess I say that because I know the mod, the Rocky Fields mod, which is, you know, generating all these rocks, has the ability for trailers to auto pick up rocks. So, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I kind of think it was Shift L to do that. But let me get to the field here and get ready to pick these up. It would be nice if it zoomed in a little bit. Something I added to the mod is those little dots you see on the map, those gray dots. Those are hotspots that tell you where a rock is, and the mod came without it, and I kind of need it. I mean, you can tell, you can look out there, and you can see some of them, like dead ahead, we see one. But some of them are pretty small, and I was always worried that I wouldn't be able to see them or to pick them up. So I wanted to be able to make sure I knew where all of them were, so I made them, I put in some extra coding for every single rock to show kind of on the little mini map. So now, what do I need to do to get this to... See, I turn it on or off with the B. I don't even know what that does, but let me walk up here, or drive up here, rather. Okay, well, hitting B didn't do diddly, so... Let's try V. Does that lower? That doesn't do anything. X. That doesn't do anything. Ah, there we go. Alright, so with the mouse, you can raise and lower this. I don't want to get too far off the surface. Now, I'd be curious to see... Yeah, it probably... can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm kind of waving this around like a drunken sailor. Okay, that's pretty cool. So, oh, I didn't quite get it. Oh, wow. See, it'd be tough to do this the right way, which is kind of how you see it. to be able to scoop up a rock. And the reason is, if this was out on the regular dirt, this would be no problem at all. But as you may or may not know, the textures that we're looking at, even though it appears three-dimensional, that we're driving over, even though it looks like soil, it's just a flat surface. And so there's nothing on this flat surface that's going to help lift those rocks, or it's almost like you'd need a barrier or something for them to kind of slow them down or stop them, so you could actually pick them up. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, but I'm going to have it down because it looks cool. So I'm going to hit there. Now we just loaded it, auto-loaded it, but I have another mod in here called Fireworks. Actually, let me see if I see it. And that same input binding turns that silly thing on. So I don't know if you can actually see it. I heard it go off. I know I've seen it before. It probably needs to be dark really to see it. So let me turn those off. I think a Shift-K will turn that down. Alright, so we've picked up one little rock here. And now that I have it on, it probably will continue picking them up as I visit other rock sites. Let me go see if I can get this one. There we go. Oh yeah, see, they're a little loosey-goosey floppy in there. They'd never be that way in real life, but in our little tractor in this unit, they're not quite so. I know I fussed with that in previous versions of Farming Sim. You want it to behave as close to a real rock as you can, but it's hard. It's a physics object, and how to define how it should move around, when it's sitting inside an object, because I can slam the brakes and, well, I guess those didn't go out. But you just got to be careful or else they'll go flying on out. I know we'd carry them before in the bucket of a tractor, and first thing you know, the tractor would go one direction and all the rocks, all of them, would go sailing off into the wild blue yonder on the other side, and it could get pretty frustrating. So the physics engine, I know, has various settings for friction and mass and all sorts of things that define how these rocks, or any object for that matter, is going to behave, when it's in game. And it was sometimes kind of ticklish putting all that together. Yeah, and see, and then you get them inside something like this, and they hardly want to behave. They're not going to fall out of there, but see, in real life, you put those rocks in there, and it'd be no big deal. They would just stick tight and just kind of sit there in a clump. And see, they're so heavy, I mean, they're not going to budge hardly. You'd have to really be ripping around to get them to fall out of there. So I think I already need to go unload this, it appears. So I'm going to close the hatch, and I think I'll leave it on so that if any of these fall out kind of on the drive back, that they will that they'll fly back in. Not really realistic, but oh well. We'll take this one here up to the main farm so you can kind of see it disappear up there. I may end up, because there's going to be a lot of trips. We've got a lot of rocks to haul as we continue digging up more over here. So yeah, I may just end up putting another rock pile somewhere down here. And truth be told, that's kind of how it was especially in the old days too. Where, they didn't have all the fancy equipment. I know with my grandfather's farm on Lone Oak, back in the day, I mean, he told me when I was a little guy that he literally started with a horse. That's kind of the era. He was just coming out of that era. I think that didn't last long. But he always did have a fondness for horses. But even when he got his first tractor, it didn't have the horsepower and the ability to do significant work in the field. So a lot of times, I mean, if you had significant rocks in a field, you a lot of times just had to leave them lay. There was in later years when I worked up there, we cleaned out. There we go. That's deleting all the rocks. Now we're empty. There was in later years a lot of effort we expended to clean up some of those old rock piles that were in the middle of the field, and they were kind of a nuisance, and they wanted to just farm through them. So, but there was a lot of them out there, and over the years, as the land gave up more rocks, and the farmers hauled them however they could to the rock pile, and there they sat. So there was a lot to pick up, but nowadays, with dozers and larger heavy equipment like excavators, they were able to do something about it, and they just didn't have those kind of tools much earlier. And I don't think they were the only ones. There's a lot of farms that if you look around their fields, not only might they be in the middle of a field, in the form of a rock island or something, but you'll see many, many piles kind of around the edges of the field where they just had to get all that stuff out of the way so they could farm. Let me get this back down and get ready for business again. Now it says, I think we have one kind of down over here. I wish I could zoom in my... There's one. See, I think I came through here earlier, and I don't know if I missed these or didn't see them. I know I could see one right there. If the lights are just right, I know we can see them easier. There's one. Looks like there's another one over here. In real life, this would probably be quite a bit more work. We'd be stopping and scooping each one of these up. And sometimes in here, I guess they always say if you don't like the mod or want its effect to be turned off, well, you can always deactivate it, which is true. But I know sometimes I've used the large trailer and the tractor trailer unit of the truck, and I've brought that onto the fields. I've even set up a course play with it, turned on its rock picking up ability, if you will, and turned it loose on the field, and it just goes round and round and collects rocks. And at some point, and I don't know how the mod figures it out, there are limits to how much it'll allow a trailer to hold before it says that it's full. And when it's full, it doesn't put a single more rock in. So you do have to kind of keep an eye on it, and then of course you get the pleasure of turning off the fireworks the next time you turn it back on. Now, I don't even hardly use that mod. Does anybody else listening to this, have you ever used fireworks as a mod? That's kind of just one of those silly things I guess for ambiance. I think I've picked them all up in 48. So now I'm going to kind of just come over here and sneak along this side. I'll look behind me here as I continue going forward. Maybe shouldn't drive in the field. As you can see over here, we started the field at the beginning of this, and he's only about halfway through the second round. These are large fields, and there's a lot to do. I know in another series that I do, one of them, I'm showing literally everything that I'm doing there, and I don't know if people like that or not. This one here, I figured nobody in their right mind wants to sit and watch somebody cultivate for nearly 2 hours straight on a field. I mean, I try to do these in half-hour bites. I mean, that'd be 4 episodes. And I'm just not that good of a public speaker to keep everybody entertained for that. So we were in the middle of combining the last episode that we had. Actually, I think we were combining field 49 over there. So I just finished up the combining. I went ahead and did a ton of cultivating, getting it all started before coming back in here to start picking up rocks. I figured picking up rocks was something I could do while I had the cultivator guy on course play doing his thing, while we go around and go rock hunting. I gotta say, it does bring back memories. Those were some dusty, dry, hot days, but they were good days. You know, you always feel like you accomplished something. I guess a lot of farming is kind of that way. You feel like you did something at the end of the day. And maybe that's part of the appeal to guys in video games like this. I don't know what you all's jobs are as you listen to this, but I go to an office every day. Nearly 100% of what I do is in the computer. It's intangible, and sometimes you get to the end of the day and it's like, what have I done? And it's hard to see progress, you know, like you can visually see in a game like this. So I do appreciate that. Seems like, well, maybe I'm getting more rocks in here than I did last time. Maybe I can pick up all of field, what is this, field 26 here. Come in here, get this one. Maybe there's some down here. Well, you know what? I'm seeing a bounce around. You gotta know when to fold them. Know when to walk away. Is that how the song goes? Alright. Let's haul these in. I'm going to leave the auto load part on for the moment. Try to get around this one over here so it doesn't accidentally take it. I really don't know how far out it reaches. I don't think it's too far. But I'm sure it's reaching a little ways. I only want to re-pick up the ones that may accidentally fly out. We'll just take these down to the rock dump and get them disposed of. And of course, in real life, you're not going to see the rocks just disappear. You know, when you take them to the rock dump, they just accumulate. It's an additive thing. More and more of them, and year after year. I know I have a number of friends in the UK, and I've long admired a lot of their rock buildings. And I remember reading a story one time when someone asked an old farmer, you know, why they chose rock construction, you know, for so many buildings. And the farmer went on to tell him that all those rocks came out of the field and they used whatever material they had at hand, you know, to build those. And even as many rocks as we had, you know, growing up or on the farm, we didn't, maybe they did in a different era, we didn't turn them into homes. I'm not sure the rocks that we have in our area would make a good home. They're pretty, I mean, you could take a hammer and crack some of them. I mean, some of them it would bounce back and hit you between the eyes, but a lot of the rocks that we have in our area are pretty soft and very easily broken, so probably not a good idea for a home. But lots of them nonetheless. Get this set up again and start picking them up. I have that all the way down? No, I don't. That's kind of cool. I don't think I've folded it out before quite like that, so I'm kind of pleased to have seen that and learned about it a little bit. Flushing more crows out of the grass. Oh, shoot, I missed a rock there. Maybe there's one over here. Sneak by and pick him up. Is that everything in 26? Seems like there was a way to tell. Let me go inside here. One of these showed, and maybe it was the precision. No, that isn't showing it either. And this isn't showing it. Yeah, like I say, I wish I could zoom that in a little bit, but I think the proof will be in the pudding. Once I get done, there shouldn't be any more left. Yeah, he's just now finishing his second round. So we'll maybe sneak up over here, kind of on the way out. There's a whole nother field over there in field 50 that's just loaded with rocks. See, you come in here at a different angle and look at that. There's one over on the left, one on the right here that I missed. Sometimes just seeing them at the right angle helps improve visibility. The rocks we had in our area, like I say, we don't have the best soil in the area. It's kind of a clay type, volcanic type soil, red dirt, if you will. It grows stuff great, has for eons, but the valley soil, way down in the valley, is much richer and deeper, and it's a lot more devoid of rocks. There may be river rock down there as you get to the Willamette River, but up in the rocks, up in the hills, it's a different type of soil, that volcanic type that just seems to breed rocks and more of them. And if we'll be able to fill this up just by going through here, get some of these out of the way. But in the hills, a lot of times, the rocks are so embedded in the soil, a lot of times you can't even hardly see them. Oh, the alarm went off. So I may not even make it over to the field. I'll sneak over here and get this one. Pick that up and let me just sneak on over here down the road. That was the 30-minute warning from Eustace Farmer. Such a good friend. He sent that to me when he knew I was trying to do some YouTube adventures to help me know how much time had elapsed, and what it just told me is 30 minutes has gone by. It's always amazing how quickly it goes by. So I'm going to come up to here, park it over here by this rock, which it'll probably pick up. And maybe in closing, this, like I say, was a Degelman. I'm going to hop out of the game here real quick and show a picture of this one here. This is just one I found on the internet. Don't know whose it is, but this is a kind that we had on the farm. I think it's the Anderson brand. And I wish I could turn around in this. I mean, you can just search for Anderson Rock Picker if you're interested. But this one here, you can kind of see the teeth down here, these heavy steel teeth, and it's on kind of a reel up here. And there's a grate, and I think it'll pick up rocks, but out the size of your head. But it sweeps the field, and as it comes down, it helps escort the rocks kind of into the cavity back here. So that's the kind of picker that we used on the farm. I don't know if they still have it, but it was pretty handy, especially if there were a lot of smaller rocks in high concentration. This was pretty good at picking those up, so you didn't have to do quite as many by hand. And then I think there was a hydraulic lift in here that would tip it in and put it into a heavy-duty rock trailer where we hauled them off. So thank you so much for spending a little time with me as we look at all these rocks. I have a ton more I need to pick up, it appears, in field number 50. So I'm going to be at this for a while. But thanks for stopping by. I will see you on the next one.